Pete and the Backyard Mystery. Pete was a curious boy. He had bright blue eyes, curly brown hair, and always wore a big smile. Pete lived with his parents in a small, quiet town called Willow Creek. Their house was old, with paint peeling off the walls, but Pete loved it. In the backyard, there was a huge oak tree, a vegetable garden, and a wooden shed filled with tools and strange old things his dad collected. On weekends, Pete liked to dig in the backyard, hoping to find something amazing. He had found some cool rocks and even an old coin once. But Pete had no idea that something extraordinary was waiting for him today. It was a Saturday morning, and Pete decided to go digging again. He grabbed his dad's old shovel, put on his favorite cap, and started digging near the big oak tree. After digging for a while, Pete's shovel hit something hard. Clank. Pete stopped. His heart was racing with excitement. He carefully removed some dirt with his hands until he saw a shiny, silver object. It was round and smooth, like a large egg. But it wasn't an ordinary egg, it was covered in tiny, sparkly scales that glittered in the sunlight. Whoa! This isn't just any egg. This must be a dragon egg. Pete whispered to himself, his eyes wide with wonder. He looked around to see if anyone was watching, then gently picked up the egg. It was surprisingly warm, almost like it was alive. Pete rushed inside, hiding the egg under his jacket. He knew he had to keep it a secret. If anyone found out, they might take it away. He went straight to his room and placed the egg in a shoebox lined with soft, old socks. He stared at it, wondering what kind of dragon would hatch from this egg. The next few days were the longest days of Pete's life. He checked on the egg every morning and every night. Then, one night, something amazing happened. As Pete was about to go to bed, he heard a small crack coming from the shoebox. Pete's eyes grew wide, and he held his breath. The egg was hatching. Slowly, a tiny claw poked through the shell, followed by a scaly nose, and then two bright, curious eyes. Out came a baby dragon, no bigger than a kitten, with shimmering green scales and tiny wings. "Hi there, little guy," Pete whispered, trying not to scare the dragon. The dragon looked up at him and let out a soft chirp. It seemed friendly. Over the next few days, Pete took care of the baby dragon. He named it Sparky because it had a funny habit of sneezing little sparks whenever it was excited. Pete kept Sparky in his room and fed him scraps of meat he sneaked from dinner. They quickly became best friends. But keeping a dragon was harder than Pete thought. Sparky loved to climb things and knock over anything he could reach. He chewed on Pete's shoes, tore up his homework, and even tried to eat his mom's houseplants. And whenever Pete's mom came near his room, he had to hide Sparky in his closet, which was getting trickier every day as Sparky grew bigger. One afternoon, Pete heard his mom calling him. "Pete! Come downstairs. We have a visitor." Pete froze. He glanced at Sparky, who was sitting on his bed, wagging his tiny tail. What if someone saw the dragon? Pete picked up Sparky and hid him in his backpack. "Stay quiet, okay, Sparky," he whispered, and went downstairs. To Pete's surprise, the visitor was an old man with a long white beard and a walking stick. He wore a dark cloak and had a mysterious look in his eyes. The man stared at Pete for a moment, then said, "Young man, I believe you found something that belongs to me." Pete's heart skipped a beat. Did this man know about Sparky? He tried to look calm but felt the sweat on his forehead. The man continued, "You found an egg, didn't you? That egg was lost from my magical collection. It was not meant for humans. May I have it back?" Pete looked down, feeling sad. He loved Sparky, but he knew the dragon wasn't really his to keep. Slowly, he opened his backpack and took out Sparky, who looked up at the man and chirped. The old man smiled kindly and reached out his hand. "Thank you, young one. You've taken good care of him." But just as the man was about to take Sparky, Sparky let out a big sneeze, and a tiny flame shot out of his nose, catching Pete's backpack on fire. "Ah!" Pete shouted, quickly patting out the flames. The old man chuckled. It seems Sparky likes you very much. Here, I'll make a deal. You can keep Sparky for 1 week every year. But the rest of the time, he must stay with me, in his magical home. Pete's face lit up. Really? You mean it? The man nodded. But remember, he is a dragon. He will always bring a bit of trouble wherever he goes. And with that, the man took Sparky, gave Pete a wink, and disappeared into thin air. Pete stood there, his heart full of joy and a bit of sadness. But he knew one thing for sure: next year, when Sparky returned, they would have even more incredible adventures together.